Welcome back for another vlog. I hope everyone is doing well. I had grand intentions for this vlog this week to kind of showcase some of the really fun fall activities we did over the weekend, but unfortunately it rained all day Sunday for one, so we wouldn't have gotten out to do much. And secondly, our adopted kiddo is sick, and so we haven't really been able to get out to do much of anything, which is kind of a bummer because there's really like 5 weekends that mark the ability here to do fall activities. And we just lost one of those weekends, and we have so many things that we want to do and we want for the kids to experience and enjoy. And now we're down to 4 weekends. We actually have a lot of fun things planned this upcoming weekend. We are taking a day trip. Our foster kiddos actually are not going to be with us this weekend. One is going to spend the weekend with family, and the other is going to go to respite for the weekend. And we are kind of doing a nuclear family trip. Unfortunately, my stepson won't be here either because he'll be with his mom for the weekend because that's her time with him, but that's all right. We had planned on taking our adopted kiddo to do some fun things. It will be great for him because he's going to get a lot of one-on-one time, which he hasn't had a lot of that recently. Usually there's always others involved. So I'm really hoping for great weather for this upcoming weekend. We have a lot of rain in the forecast this week, and it is also unseasonably warm today. It is in the 80s, where usually this time of year it's in the low 60s, high 50s. Maybe get up into the high 60s. And today the temperature is supposed to be well over 80 degrees and super humid. And tonight it's supposed to be like 70 degrees overnight. And then it's supposed to cool off again back into our typical fall weather. So I'm hoping that, well, this front that's coming in is supposed to be bringing quite a bit of rain, and so I'm hoping that it's done by this weekend. I'm also hoping our adopted son is feeling better by this weekend because we really wanted to enjoy our chance to just have some one-on-one time with him. But we did have plans for some fun trips this weekend to see some beautiful colorful foliage that's changing, and we're going to go to an ostrich farm. And so I'm really hoping, crossing my fingers, that all those things, everything is going to align and we're going to be able to do that this weekend. So make sure you come back next week for a vlog about that. But since I don't have any of the content, or wasn't able to get any of the content that I intended for this week's vlog, I thought I would give you an update. So I have a couple updates. One update is that a couple videos ago I talked about how we were possibly facing the situation of having to separate siblings, not by really our doing or the department's doing, just because when you have multiple bio dads in the picture, that's just the way it works out sometimes, and they want to try to keep kiddos with their family rather than them being with foster care parents. So we were just waiting to see if there was a family member in particular who would be willing to take guardianship of the little boy because his case needs to have some permanency options, and then do kinship care of the little girl. So we got an email earlier last week, actually in the middle of last week, and the caseworker just let us know that the family member that they were hoping was going to do these things is very undecided, very on the fence about whether or not that's what they want to do or if they're even capable of doing that. It's my understanding that they don't work a typical Monday through Friday 9-to-5 job, and so they don't have a great support system to be able to help fill in on the weekends when they have to work or when they have to work super early in the morning, and so that's kind of where they're hesitant. Also, I mean, they raised their kids. They don't necessarily want to go back and do that all over again, let alone with a 2.5-year-old and I think she is 8 months old now, and an 8-month-old. It's a lot. It's a lot to handle, and I totally understand that, and I respect their decision. Unfortunately for the kiddos, that means they're most likely going to be separated. We finally got some paternity results back that we've been waiting for since the beginning of our case, which was back in May. And now they're doing a family find for the little girl to see if there's any of her bio dad's family that is going to step forward and be willing to take her as a kinship placement. If not, then they'll stay together. Maybe. They also are doing another family find for the little boy to see if there are any family members who would be willing to do guardianship. So we're still waiting to find out what's going to happen. I'm kind of hoping that they will find a solution that will keep them together. I'm still really hoping that that's the way that the case goes, but it doesn't always work like that. It isn't that easy, and it isn't that simple. If none of those things happen, I'm not really sure what the next step is. I guess that will be something to ask about if it gets that far. I try not to ask too many questions about further down the road, or what if this doesn't work, or what if that doesn't work. I kind of just try to leave my questions in the current present time of the case, or as in maybe like one step after that. So I was questioning when they were talking about this last option of both kids going to one family member, well, what will happen if that family member doesn't work out? So that's where I got my information about like the family find for guardianship and placement and all of those kinds of things. But I don't really get too far ahead of myself and ask a lot of questions about like, well, what if that doesn't work out? Then what is our next step? As far as if none of that works out, I assume the next step for the little boy would be adding adoption to his permanency plan as a concurrent goal. And then from there, I don't know exactly how it would play out. They would have to wait a period of time before they could even say adoption is the route that it's going to go. They have to give the parents adequate time to work their case. If parents don't show up or disappear, then there's a waiting period for abandonment charges or anything like that. And so it's just a lot going on. There's so many different variables, and it can go in so many different directions that I really try not to think ahead too far than where we are currently in the case. So that's where we are currently. For now, the kiddos are still going to be here. We are planning out Halloween costumes. I think our adopted son picked out a fire truck costume that he wants. And so we're thinking maybe of getting him also a fireman costume to go with it. But that's a lot. Halloween costumes are not cheap, and we have 4 kids to buy Halloween costumes for. And so we thought maybe about just having him wear either his yellow raincoat if it's warm enough, or he has a black winter coat, and then we would maybe just get him some fireman rain boots, and I think we have a fire hat somewhere, and having him wear that with his fire truck costume. As far as the other kiddos, my stepson wants to be an orange cat for Halloween. I don't know where I'm going to find an orange cat costume. It cannot be like a tiger costume. It has to be an orange cat. So I'm going to have to look for that. I've found a lot of black cat costumes, and he was a black cat a couple years ago, and I think he would be fine being a black cat again, but I kind of was encouraging him to think of something different than something we've already done. Ultimately, in the end, if he chooses to be a black cat again, that's his choice if I can't find an orange cat costume. But we'll see how it goes. Our 2.5-year-old, we've kind of looked at costumes a little bit with him. He wants to be a dump truck. He wants to be Catboy. He wants to be Mickey Mouse. He wants to be a character from Paw Patrol. He's very indecisive. Every costume he looks at, that's what he wants. And so I think he might be a little more difficult to actually pick out a costume for. And the baby, I'm really undecided what she is going to be. I found this really cute hedgehog costume at Target, and I thought maybe I would have her be a hedgehog. It's a very gender neutral costume, and I thought, oh, I could save that, and then if we had other kiddos down the line at Halloween that would fit into it, they could also wear that. But then I also remember that I had once saved all the kids' costumes, and then I sold them all because they just took up too much space. So I'm unsure of what I want her to be. It'll probably just be whatever I find when we actually buy the rest of our costumes. The only reason our adopted son has the costume is because it was the only one left, and I found it for a really good deal. So there's all of that. I also have another update, and this update kind of frustrates me. Not that it's anything that I can control, it's just the way the system is and the system works. But when our caseworker was letting me know about the kids and their situation and all of that, she also let me know that she was leaving the department and she was no longer going to be our kiddos caseworker. And I think what frustrates me the most about this is that this has happened on every single case we've had but one. Our first case we went through, I believe, 4 social workers in 1 year on that case. One of the social workers we never even met because they were just an interim worker, and they actually never came out to our home. They left it up to our coordinator to do the home visit because they just couldn't fit it into their schedule. And then our second case was the only case that our worker stayed on the case the whole time once assigned. Our kids all have an initial worker, and then the case gets passed off to a ongoing caseworker. And that was the only case where it was the same worker, but that also was a relatively short case. That kiddo wasn't here for all that long. And I don't even know if that worker still works for the department or not. So I don't know. Our case with our adopted kiddo, we went through 2 social workers, both whom after the case ended, well, one during the case and one after the case ended, both whom no longer work for the department. And we loved both of those social workers. They were probably our favorites, and I say that probably because we worked with them the longest. We had one worker, and she was on the case for the first 3 months or so, and then we got a new worker that came onto the case, and then at one point she went on maternity leave, and actually our old worker ended up taking our case back for maternity leave. And then after the maternity leave was done, we found out that that worker who had been filling in was leaving the department. And then we just found out that the worker who we ended the case back with also left the department, and now we're in our current case, and we are 5 months in, and almost 6 months. Wow, in a week or so they will have been here for 6 months. No, they will have been here for 5 months. 4 months. I'm really bad at math. They will have been here for 4 months. So we're only 4 months into this case, and our caseworker is leaving. So that really frustrates me that there's such a high turnover. It's really nothing that I can do to control the situation. I wish there was ways that we could support the workers better, but I know it's a lot of bureaucratic things going on, and I know that they're really pushed to their limits a lot, and that it's a job with a high turnover rate. But I'm just sad because we develop relationships with these people, and there are often times when you're in a critical part of your case and the caseworker leaves, and then you just expect someone new to come in, and you're just hoping and crossing your fingers and praying that they are on the same philosophy, because workers can kind of change a little bit of what's going on in the case. Ultimately, the goals in the end are the same, but each one, the way they deal with certain situations, deal with them differently. And you can just hope that that worker is dealing with the case the same way as the current worker was, especially if it was something that was going relatively well and you were comfortable with the way the case was headed and you were in agreement with the way the case was headed. So we're kind of in that predicament right now. Our caseworker leaves in a week and a half. Our new caseworker is coming out to meet us. She's not really coming out to meet us because I've met her before. We've worked with her before on a previous case. She was actually the worker who was at the end of our first case when we went through many caseworkers. So I met her before. We've worked with her before. So I'm not really necessarily, have any concerns about that. It's just we didn't really work with her for that long, just for a few months, and so I'm not really sure what her viewpoint is on certain things or how she handles certain things, because we really just didn't work with her for that long. Although, funny story, the very first time that we ever met that caseworker, she came for a home visit, and my stepson locked himself in the bathroom, and I couldn't get him out of the bathroom, and I was slightly panicked. But only in foster homes do things like that happen. I mean, for real, every single time, every caseworker we've had, every single case we've had, something has happened. But that was fun. So I'll be interested to see when she comes out later this week, if she remembers that, or if she says anything about it. If you guys have anything that you would like for me to talk about, feel free to comment that below or contact me if you have any questions. I will do my best to answer them. As my channel is growing, there's more and more people outside of the area watching my videos, and so if you have questions, I can do my best to answer them in a general term, but every state does everything different. In fact, every county in every state does everything different. So our process and the things that we went through are maybe not the way it works in another state or in another area, but that's just what we experienced and what our journey is like right now. Watch for a new vlog next week, and like I said earlier, hopefully everything all works out for us and we can get in at least one day of fun that we have planned for this weekend. I'm really looking forward to it. We have some kind of negative, I shouldn't say we, my mom has some negative experiences from this ostrich farm that we are going back to visit. We went there several years ago, and Camel nearly stuck her whole entire hand in his mouth when she was trying to feed it, and so she's not super excited about going back there, but I thought it would be a lot of fun. And hopefully everyone will have a great time. Until next time, thanks for watching. Bye.